We're here today to welcome the newest partner to the Experience on Demand team, Gayle Randa. Gayle comes to us all the way from Wichita, Kansas. Welcome, Gayle.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. I went to school at WSU where I got my bachelor's. Go Shocks. I went on to complete my master's at Webster University. It was in Wichita where I began my HR career. I spent the last 17 years in a multi-site, multi-state organization as the HR leader. And as the HR leader for both of those organizations, I worked a lot on strategic plans, implementing a lot of HR initiatives, standardizing and centralizing. So that really led me here to St. Louis. And my family and I have been here for the last 3 years.
See, and so what you're bringing to Experience on Demand is your background in HR, and this is the area that you'll be focusing on here?
Yes, it is. I hope to bring everything that I've learned, all my experiences working with the companies that I have, and bring that to my clients in order to really, reduce cost, increase efficiencies, and the most important thing is really focus on their employees, motivating, engaging, because I think obviously employees are key to any business.
And what is that basically your mission, that you feel that the focus being on employees is what will really bring strength to the organization?
I think so. Now I have two goals really when it comes to working in HR. My first goal is to have HR always be at the strategic table. I really feel like that's where that discipline needs to be. And then secondly, and is really what I said, is to always focus on the employees. And I think as an HR leader, you really have to wear two hats. I mean, you have to look at it at your job as in a wide scope, meaning what can I do to increase the success of the company that I'm working for. But then on the other hand, you always have to watch out for the employees and focus on them to ensure that they're engaged and motivated, because that's really what makes the company successful.
Right. And so in consulting with other groups, what do you find sometimes is the biggest need out there? What do you see over and over again that really needs some help in improving?
Yeah, well, a couple of things stand out to me is again, making sure that HR is really a strategic partner. I think that's key. The next is really, I find companies that may not have a strategic HR plan. They might have a business strategic plan, but I believe HR, in order to really, impact business goals and the success of the company, they need to have a plan, a strategic plan. So I feel like that's the conceptual roadmap to anything that an HR department will do. Is they always need to go back to what did we decide, what is in our plan, and then stick to that, regardless of what's going on. That's really where you go back and try to focus in. And I really feel like companies need to put in the time to develop that. And then beyond that, I find companies, everyone is so busy, and HR is just like everyone else, just more work and more work. And so sometimes you lose focus on really staying current, like policies and procedures. So it's always good to go back and look at your policies, make sure they're updated. With the political environment that we have, we've got a lot of regulations that impact employees, and it's important to stay current on those. So.
Have you found that the HR field has changed much over the years? You've been active in it for about 20 years or something?
Yeah. I feel like we as an HR industry use technology a lot more. When I first started, everything was manual. And but as the years go by, technology has really helped HR. It also has helped HR really use metrics and to really prove to the company that here's what I'm doing and here's how I'm having an impact, how the results of the HR department is having an impact on the business. And tracking metrics is really key in this day and age, whereas before someone would ask you, how's HR doing? And you know, I would say, we're doing great.
Right.
You know, with no real proof, that's solid proof. And I do think that has, you know, been good for HR.
A way to analyze what's really working and what's making an impact.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you find that the HR needs of companies vary widely from industry to industry, depending on what they're dealing with, or do you find that the problems and the issues are pretty common across the board?
You know, in some ways, I feel like the issues are very common. Employees are employees. You've got to motivate, you've got to hire them, right? You've got to onboard them, you've got to motivate them, and then, you know, when there's issues, you have to coach and counsel them. Now, some industries have a little bit more regulations involved. I have been involved in healthcare, so there's a little bit more hoops that you have to jump through.
Right.
But when it all is said and done, they're people. And, you know, I do think maximizing a company's performance really comes down to maximizing an individual's performance. That individual does a job, and he or she can do it well or not so well. So really getting down to that unit within the company is important. The unit being an employee.
Right. Yeah. Well, I can believe that that's a challenge in that you're kind of answering to two masters, both the management and the employee, and also being an ear. And a form of communication for employee to management. And do you relish that part of the job?
You know, I do. The other disciplines within a company, it may be sales and marketing, it may be finance, and they all have their goals and their focus. But HR really has to focus on the employees and make sure that the policies and procedures and even the philosophy and the culture of the company really support and maintain their employee workforce.
It's an essential element of any business, and yet one that we just expect it to run sometimes. Right. How do you see your role as a consultant now? I mean, what areas are you going to be most involved in? When would, let me put it this way, when would you advise a company to seek out some HR consulting?
Well, I think definitely what I said before, we're all getting way overworked, way too many things that you've got to get done in a day. And when a company finds themselves that they're not being as efficient or effective, or maybe they're a little bit outdated, I think that's a great time to reach out to an outside consultant. Bring them in, do the project, update policies, whatever, and really that'll make the whole department and the whole company run so much more efficiently. Your people aren't, you know, off doing this project. Well, who's going to do the rest of the work? Right. So I think that that is a great time. Another time is if you're a new executive in an organization and you need to get up to speed with what your departments are doing. I do an HR effectiveness assessment where I can come in and look at every aspect of the HR department's functionality. And then at the end, after a really comprehensive review of policies, procedures, things like that, I can come back to the CEO or the CFO and say, here are the areas that you should be concerned with. Here's the weaknesses. Here's the strengths. This is what, you know, your HR department does great. And here's some areas that, you know, could be improving on. So it's a quick way to gauge, you know, where HR is when you've got everything else to deal with. So those are two scenarios I think are really great scenarios to bring in an outside person, have them do the job, educate the on-ground staff, and then, the consultant can go off and do something else, and you can keep moving forward
That
at the
outside
company.
view, that objective
Yeah,
view,
very
and
objective,
the
right.
person coming in with no baggage
Yeah,
with the
Right.
other processes or people in the company is a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And I imagine, especially during a time of transition, there's a great need.
Right.
You have a lot of personal as well as business issues that people are dealing with at
Right.
those points, and that's
Yeah.
tough. And I know you've gone through that yourself, just in making the big move here and
Right.
transitioning. Did that give you any insights, being kind of on the other side of the coin for a while,
Yeah.
where you were changing?
Yeah, I've always worked at a company where we've relocated people in.
Uh-huh.
I've never been on the other side where I've relocated. And so there's lots of things that I went through in my relocation to a different city that, I never even thought of when I was on the other end. Just like helping the person get to know the city and get to know their way around. And, we moved here. I didn't have a dentist. I didn't have a doctor. I didn't know anything. And some help in that regard, not just on the job, getting to know on the job, but really getting to know the community. Because I think that's so key to people when they're new to a company and new to the city, is really, you've got to connect with your job and your new boss, but you also have to connect with the community, and because that's going to be your home, hopefully,
Right.
for a long time. So that's one thing that I really learned, is I kind of overlooked that when I dealt with people relocating
Right.
into Wichita, for instance.
I'm sure it gave you a
So,
whole new
it did.
perspective, and probably
did.
a really helpful
Yes,
one, because you have
I
a
hope so.
person who's transitioned smoothly and happily.
Right.
They're no doubt going to be doing a better job.
Right.
Well, what has your experience been? And I know you're brand new, but with Experience on Demand, do you feel that you're going to be able to integrate your expertise with the variety of skills that this organization offers and working together with people?
Yeah, I do so much. I mean, it's like working for a company, and a company, a typical company, has finance people, and they have marketing people, and they have leaders of the organization, and that's really what I'm used to. I'm really used to working with finance, working with clinical, working with marketing, because again, you got people in those departments.
Right.
So that's what I like, and I think I won't have any trouble really, integrating in with this great team, and the people here are wonderful. So if they weren't, I would have picked up on that. And but they're nice, they're genuine, and I'm really excited to have this as my work family.
And you feel comfortable with the goals and the mission
Oh,
of
yes.
Experience on Demand. I mean, it's so important.
Yeah.
You feel like you can totally get behind what this company is standing for. I mean.
Exactly. I mean, they're all about the mission. It's all about really listening to the customer, listening to the client first, before you jump in and try to, have this cookie cutter,
Right.
solution.
Right.
That's not how they work here, and I'm very glad of that. Being with only 2 organizations in the last 17 years, I ended up getting really to know the organization and the philosophy and the culture and the people. And to have that, to be new here, that's what I want to do. I really want to get to know everybody and what they do and how I can help them. So
Well, that's great. I think you're going to be a wonderful asset
Well,
to
thank
the
you.
organization, and we're so
you.
happy to have you here.
great. I'm very happy to be here.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.